I said, "Don't touch that folder." My father's voice cut through the farmhouse kitchen just as my hand reached the glossy packet on the table. Behind him, a realtor stood beside two strangers in clean boots, smiling like they had already bought the place. My mother was pouring coffee into Grandpa's chipped mugs, the same mugs she once called junk, acting like she had invited guests over for brunch instead of secretly selling the only home that had ever felt like mine. "Dad," I said, looking from the buyers to the photos of our barn, our pasture, our orchard, "why is there a purchase agreement on Grandpa's table?" My mother didn't even blink. "This is already handled, Ariana," she said softly. "Don't make this embarrassing." That was when I looked outside and saw my father's truck blocking my car in the driveway. The morning had started with voices I didn't recognize. I had been halfway down the hall, still buttoning my work shirt, when I heard a woman say, "The title cleared faster than we expected." Title cleared. Those two words stopped me cold. For 3 months after Grandpa's funeral, my parents had told me they were handling the paperwork. Every time I asked what that meant, my father waved me off. Every time I asked if I needed to sign anything, my mother said, "You're too emotional right now." But now there were strangers in the kitchen, and the folder on the table had the farm's address printed across the top. Final walkthrough. The buyer's wife smiled at me. "You must be the tenant who'll be vacating." My throat tightened. "Tenant?" My father gave a short laugh. "Ariana helped her grandfather around here. She gets attached." "I lived here," I said. My mother's eyes sharpened. "You stayed here after the funeral because we allowed it." Then the buyer's husband said, "Well, we were told the estate was ready to transfer." That was when I remembered Grandpa's hand trembling on top of a county office desk 6 months before he died. He had slid a document toward me and said, "Sign here, sweetheart, then keep this private until someone tries to take the land." I never understood what he meant. Not until my phone started ringing from an unknown county number. I ignored it. It rang again. Then my father's phone rang too. He answered, went pale, and looked straight at me. "Don't let them sign anything." My father clamped one hand over his phone and grabbed my wrist with the other. "Pantry," he said. I tried to pull back, but he was already steering me across the kitchen. The buyers stared. The realtor glanced down at his folder. My mother stepped in front of them with a tight smile and said, "Family misunderstanding, nothing serious." The pantry door shut behind us, cutting off the morning light. My father's face was inches from mine. "What did you sign with that old man?" he whispered. For a second I forgot how to breathe. He wasn't asking what I was talking about. He wasn't confused. He knew there was a document. "You knew," I said. His jaw tightened. "Answer me." "I signed what Grandpa asked me to sign." "What was it?" "I don't know," I said. Not fully, but he was clear. He knew exactly what he was doing. My father let out a sharp breath, like that answer annoyed him more than a lie would have. He was dying, Ariana. He was confused. People get sentimental when they know the end is close. "No," I said, and my voice shook, but it came out. He drove himself to the county office. He corrected the clerk when she said the parcel number wrong. He was not confused. The pantry door opened barely an inch. My mother slipped inside and shut it fast behind her. "The buyers are waiting," she whispered. "They already paid earnest money. The realtor is asking questions. You need to be mature about this." "Mature?" I looked at her. "You listed Grandpa's farm without telling me." Her face hardened. "This family cannot survive another delay." "What does that mean?" "It means taxes, repairs, insurance, things you don't understand because you think feeding chickens and crying in the orchard makes you responsible." My father pointed toward the kitchen. "That sale keeps this from becoming a disaster." "And where was the money going?" I asked. Neither of them answered. My mother stepped closer, lowering her voice. "Ariana, you have no savings, no lawyer, no place to go if we stop helping you. Think very carefully before you humiliate us in front of those people." That was the part that made my hands go cold. Not the threat itself. The fact that she said it like a reminder. Like my weakness was something they had already measured. Why didn't you tell me the farm was listed? I asked. My mother's mouth barely moved. Because you would have made it about feelings. My phone buzzed in my pocket before I could answer. I pulled it out. A voicemail transcription filled the screen. We received an attempted title transfer request involving the Wells farm. Please contact us immediately regarding the beneficiary document on file. The pantry seemed to shrink around me. Beneficiary document. My father saw the words at the same time I did. His hand shot toward my phone. I stepped back, hitting the shelf behind me, and jars of Grandpa's preserved peaches rattled above my shoulder. For the first time that morning, my parents were not treating me like a grieving daughter in the way. They were treating me like the one person who could ruin everything. And one question burned louder than all the others. If they had no right to sell the farm, why were they acting like the deal was already done? I stepped out of the pantry before either of them could block the door. The kitchen went quiet. The buyers were standing near the sink now, their coffee untouched. The realtor had one hand on the purchase folder, but he was no longer opening it. And beside the back door stood Aunt Linda, still wearing her raincoat, holding a small paper bag from the bakery. She looked from my face to my parents. "What's going on?" she asked. My mother smiled too quickly. "Nothing, we're just finalizing things." "Finalizing what?" Aunt Linda said. My father walked out behind me. "Linda, not now." But now was exactly the problem. I looked at the realtor, whose name is listed as the seller. His expression changed. "Not much, but enough." He looked at my father, then my mother, then back at me. Mr. and Mrs. Wells represented themselves as authorized heirs managing the estate. "Represented," I repeated. The buyer's husband shifted his weight. We were told there were no family disputes. "There weren't," my father snapped, "until Ariana decided to perform." My mother gave a small, embarrassed laugh, the kind she used in public when she wanted people to think she was being patient with me. "She's grieving," she said. "She's been confused since her grandfather passed." "I'm not confused," I said. "I didn't know the farm was for sale." "But," the buyer's wife looked at me, "you live here." "Yes." Her eyes moved to my parents. "We were told the house was occupied temporarily." My father folded his arms. "She was allowed to stay here, that doesn't make it hers." Aunt Linda's face tightened. "Martin," she said slowly, "Ariana took care of your father for 2 years. She was here when his legs gave out. She was here when he couldn't drive anymore. You and Celeste came by when there were checks to sign." My mother's smile vanished. "That is not your business." "It became my business when you invited me here to say goodbye to the farm, and left out the part where Ariana didn't know it was being sold." The realtor closed the folder halfway. My father noticed. "Don't do that," he said. "This is a family argument. It has nothing to do with the sale." "It might," the realtor said carefully, "if there is a title issue." "There is." I pulled my phone out again. My mother's eyes locked on it. "Ariana," she said under her breath, "don't you dare." I pressed the callback number from the voicemail and put it on speaker. The ringing filled the kitchen. No one moved. Then a woman answered. "County Recorder's Office, this is Marcia." I swallowed. "This is Ariana Wells, you called about the Wells farm." There was a pause, then the sound of typing. "Yes, Ms. Wells. We received an attempted title transfer request this morning. There is a beneficiary-related document on file, and the parcel was flagged for notification." The buyer's husband exhaled hard. The realtor fully closed the folder. My father's face darkened. "Hang up." "I didn't." Aunt Linda stepped closer to me. Marcia continued, "Before anything proceeds, we need to verify." My father lunged across the table. His hand struck mine so fast I barely felt it until my phone flew from my grip, hit the edge of the chair, and cracked against the floor. The speaker was still on. A thin, distant voice came through the broken screen. "Ms. Wells, are you safe to continue this call?" The kitchen went silent. Not quiet. Silent. The kind of silence where every person in the room suddenly understood they had just watched something they could not politely ignore. My phone lay face up on the floor, the screen split through the middle, Marsha's voice still coming from it. "Ms. Wells, are you safe to continue this call?" I bent down before my father could move. "I'm here," I said, picking it up with both hands. "I'm safe." The buyer's wife took a step backward. Her husband touched her elbow like he was ready to leave. The realtor's face had gone stiff. "I can't proceed with any signatures," he said, closing the folder and pulling it against his chest, "until ownership is independently verified." My father turned on him. "You're overreacting." "No," the buyer's husband said. "We paid earnest money based on clean title and no disputes. I want our deposit protected immediately." Aunt Linda lifted her phone. My mother saw it. "Linda, put that away." "No," Aunt Linda said, her thumb already on the screen. "No one is twisting this later." Marsha spoke again through my cracked phone. "Ms. Wells, you'll need to come to the county office with identification. The document on file prevents any transfer without your direct involvement." My father's anger shifted. I saw it happen in his eyes. It became panic. "We listed the property because the estate needed liquidity," he said, but his voice no longer sounded certain. The realtor opened the folder just enough to pull out a page. The wire instructions provided show seller proceeds going to Martin and Celeste Wells. I stared at my parents. "Your personal account." My mother said nothing. My father snapped. "That's temporary." "An estate account would be temporary," the realtor said. "This is not an estate account." The kitchen seemed to tilt. The truck blocking my car, the surprise walkthrough, the way my mother had called me emotional, the way my father knew about Grandpa's document but pretended he didn't. All of it locked into place. The realtor's voice lowered. I was also given a death certificate, a family affidavit, and a statement that Ariana Wells had declined interest in the property. "I never signed that," I said. The buyer's wife covered her mouth. My mother turned on my father. "You said the document issue had been handled." He whipped around. "You're the one who said she was too weak to fight." There it was. Not an accident. Not confusion. A plan. I looked at Marsha's name still glowing on my broken screen. "I'm coming to the county office now," I said. Then I turned to the realtor. "Email me every document they gave you." My father stepped toward me. "Ariana, don't walk out that door." Aunt Linda moved between us. The buyers left first, the husband already saying, "Call our attorney." Then I walked past my parents, through Grandpa's mudroom, and out to the driveway. My father's truck still blocked my car, so Aunt Linda drove. Neither of us spoke until we reached the county office parking lot. Then her phone rang. She answered, listened for 3 seconds, and looked at me. "Your parents just tried to empty Grandpa's farm account." The county recorder's office smelled like printer ink, old paper, and rainwater, tracked in from the parking lot. Aunt Linda walked beside me, one hand on my elbow, not holding me up exactly, but making sure no one could shove me aside again. At the counter, Marsha looked from my cracked phone to my license. "Ariana Wells." "Yes." She nodded, then disappeared into a back room. My hands were shaking against the edge of the counter, so I pressed them flat until the trembling stopped. A few minutes later, Marsha returned with a file folder. "This was recorded 6 months before your grandfather passed," she said. She opened it carefully. There was Grandpa's signature. Not weak, not confused, firm enough to recognize immediately. Beside it was mine. Marsha pointed to the first page. "This is a transfer on death deed. Your grandfather named you as the beneficiary of the farm. Your signature here acknowledged receipt of the recorded document packet. It did not give you ownership then. It confirmed you were notified of what had been filed." I stared at the legal description, the parcel number, the same fields and orchard my parents had almost sold from under me. "So when Grandpa died," I said. "The property transferred to you," Marsha said, "outside the authority your parents claimed to have through the estate." Aunt Linda let out a breath that sounded like she had been holding it since the farmhouse. Marcia slid another page forward. Your grandfather also requested a notification flag. If anyone attempted to transfer or sell the parcel, our office was to contact you directly. That was when I understood why Grandpa had told me to keep it private. He hadn't been hiding the farm from me. He had been hiding me from them until the document could protect me. Marcia turned the final copy around. In Grandpa's careful handwriting, beside the margin, was one sentence. For Ariana, who stayed when staying was hard. My vision blurred so fast I had to grip the counter. Aunt Linda put her arm around my shoulders. I didn't sob, I didn't collapse. I just stood there, staring at the proof that Grandpa had seen everything. The work, the loyalty, the quiet years no one else counted. Then the office door opened. My parents walked in. My father came first, breathing hard, his face flushed. My mother followed with her purse clutched against her stomach, her polished calm cracked straight down the middle. Enough, my father said. We need to talk as a family. Marcia looked at me, not him. Ms. Wells, would you like me to continue? My father's mouth opened, then closed. That was the moment everything changed. For the first time that day, no one in the room treated him like the person in charge. I looked at Marcia. Did my parents have legal authority to list the farm? No, she said. My mother's eyes flicked toward the file. Ariana, she said, softer now, we were trying to keep things stable. By putting the sale money into your personal account, Aunt Linda asked. My father pointed at her. Stay out of this. But Aunt Linda didn't step back. Neither did I. The realtor withdrew the listing before the end of the day. The buyers got their earnest money returned, and their attorney requested copies of every representation my parents had made. The county flagged the attempted transfer, and the affidavit claiming I had declined interest in the property was sent for review. A week later, my lawyer sent my parents a demand letter over the false statement and the attempt to move money from Grandpa's farm account. By then, the family already knew. Aunt Linda had not posted anything online. She simply showed the documents to the relatives who had been told I was unstable, dramatic, and trying to hold everyone hostage over memories. After that, the phone calls changed. People stopped asking why I was making trouble. They started asking why my parents had lied. The fallout was quiet, but it spread everywhere. My father lost the developer contact he had been bragging about for months. My mother lost access to the farm maintenance account Grandpa had kept separate, and both of them lost the one thing they had always used against me: control. When they came to the farm 2 weeks later, I met them on the porch. My father looked past me toward the barn. You can't keep us off family land. I held the folded notice from my lawyer in one hand. It isn't family land, I said. It's my land. You're not welcome here without written notice. My mother's face twisted. After everything we did for you. I looked at her, then at my father. Grandpa knew what you would do. Neither of them had an answer for that. Months later, the farm looked different, but not gone. I repaired the orchard fence with cedar posts Grandpa had saved in the shed. I leased part of the pasture to a neighboring farmer, enough to cover taxes without selling a single acre. And I turned the front room of the farmhouse into a small office, with Grandpa's signed document framed behind the desk. Sometimes people still called it his farm. I never corrected them. It was his farm. He just made sure it ended up with the person who had stayed. The farm was never theirs to sell, and by the time they remembered the document, it had already done exactly what my grandfather created it to do.